All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Whately Personnel Committee to order at 1 o'clock on a beautiful January 22nd, New England afternoon. Our first order of business on the agenda says reorganize the committee, but we reorganized last time. If we want to reorganize, I don't object, but um, unless somebody really, really, really wants to reorganize, then I'd say the first item is not necessary. Um, we've got some minutes from the last meeting to approve. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes?
That looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
Emotion.
Jim motion, sure.
I'll second.
Okay, and since we're partly hybrid here, then we have to do this by roll call. So I can pin you guys so that I can actually see you. All right, so we'll start with Jerry,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and that's it. And Joyce, yes. Okay, great. On to the personnel policies.
So
For
Joyce,
Hmm?
could I just jump in for 1 second? I don't know if we could go out of order a little bit. Garrett's here and the C and D items are both items that he's here to discuss and answer any questions or if we could take those two first, just because he's here.
Oh, okay, and then get him back out there working on our roads as soon as we
Yeah.
can.
I think, there.
Okay,
Doing a
then
good
for the good of the town, we're gonna take these in order C, D, B, and then I think A is not actually gonna happen today anyway. Okay, so let's go to C, which is the overtime compensatory time and informal compensatory time in section 3. So maybe Pete or somebody can talk about what the issue is here.
Well, I could summarize it and then
Sure.
we could talk to Garrett about it as well. But the issue came up with taking sick time, because the way the current policy is in order to get overtime, it's the hours worked within a week. So if you take a sick day, and the issue came up from the highway department's perspective, if they take a sick day, so you don't have 40 hours worked in that week, but then they have a big storm and they get called in. So now that the time that they're getting called in isn't going towards overtime, it's just going towards regular work time, straight time, because they haven't worked 40 hours. So they're getting 40 hours of pay because they have the sick day in there. But then any additional time comes as straight time, so, I don't know. So the issue came up is if they're, and I guess this is more for both of them, if there could be some sort of exemption that we could apply. I don't know how it would work, but if there's some sort of emergency exemption or winter exemption, because these two kind of go together in the same sense as it's the highway department that's being affected because of getting called in for a winter storm. You can't predict those, so.
Right.
No different than a police emergency. Same issue. We need all hands on deck to come deal with the problem.
Yep.
I was out sick on Tuesday, but
Yeah, but it's gonna happen way more in the winter for the highway department specifically.
got it.
So,
I've seen in highway contracts where any time called in is either time and a half or time and a quarter.
yeah,
So there's actual language
is there.
that says regardless of whether they had a sick time, it's the trigger that you were called in because of a need. And it could be outside of snow, it could be because there was a hurricane and so you need to go and clear a street from a tree. So I wouldn't restrict it to just snow emergencies, but I definitely have seen that is that what you're kind of looking?
Yeah,
for?
what happens is you get called in at 2 o'clock in the morning, you gotta get up at 2 in the morning and work on straight time for 8 hours straight, because you took 8 hours sick, so you have to make your 40 of actual work.
Yeah.
You're only at 32, you gotta work 8 straight at night.
And
What's
we would,
gonna happen is they just, I'm not
Challenge.
I'm not coming in.
I'm not coming in.
Straight time.
The one thing that is that we would have to make sure that it's only applicable to highway.
Yeah.
Because. Well, on fire, they're all called in.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that we
market,
can't
yeah.
trigger it on the fire side.
They don't work for them, right?
Yeah, no, they don't have.
No. But even at a part-time, you do have a position for part-time,
Right.
not that you have money for it, but. So I would say it's the department that we would want to make sure that we're specifying, and police. Are they being called in that would serve as overtime, or are there
It would be,
situations?
so we have a 3 hour, you get paid 3 hours, time and a half for getting called in.
So you're already covered there.
But I think it goes by the town policy that it's within the hours worked. If you worked 40
Oh.
hours, it's above 40 hours worked, not just getting called in.
So
Oh.
your department has a minimum. If you get called in, it's a 3.5 hour charge.
3 hour minimum, yep.
Does the highway department have one as well?
Same
Same thing.
Call
Good.
So we would want the automatic. Or we're suggesting, we have to review the language, what we're suggesting that this would be applicable to both police and fire. If not police and fire, police and highway.
Police and highway, yeah, I mean,
Or
to
just
keep it
highway.
consistent, that would be the way it is. I know you have. And I don't know how deep you wanna get into it, but I know there's a highway person that works for the fire that gets overtime on fire calls. So,
Right,
At
But
a
that's-
different rate of pay.
correct, different rate of pay.
yeah, so I don't know.
No,
I don't know how that.
it doesn't matter because he's being called in as a firefighter, not as a highway department
Yeah.
member.
But would he still be getting the time and a half if he hadn't worked the 40 hours in the week?
The time and a half is being triggered because you're being called in, not because you're in overtime status.
Yeah, but if you're getting called in for the fire department, he wouldn't be getting overtime, or he would.
He would, no, we're not applying this to the fire department.
Yeah.
This language, I'll write it up.
Yeah.
But essentially, we're saying.
It's just a
if
town
you're
employee
being
that-
called in, it's automatically an overtime rate. Regardless of whether you worked a full week or not.
You get
The call
40
in,
hours.
yeah, the call in
Sure.
triggers the time
Yeah.
and a half.
But I'm just thinking cross agency type of thing, if a highway employee gets called in for the highway department, but took a sick day with the highway department, they get called in for the fire. Like, how's that?
But, well, I think that when you're called in for the fire department, that's all of you're never not being called in, right?
Right,
We only have one person who has
Yeah.
regular
But
hours.
because they're already a full-time town employee,
yeah,
when they get called into the fire department, it's overtime pay for them.
is it right now?
after 40.
I
yeah.
don't,
So you still
Really?
got-
Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Mhm.
Well, that's
divide
just because he's working over 40 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for-
I think that situation is separate and unique.
okay.
We're
I
just
just
simply
want to phrase
referring
it
to,
to.
and we already are doing it.
Yeah.
So he's now asking for something else that we're not doing.
Mhm.
And that's to ensure that employees that are getting called in are getting overtime rate.
Yeah.
So that's what we're focusing on.
Okay,
I know that.
Yeah, I just want-
But yeah,
Raise the
what you're
concern.
bringing up is something that's already in practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this won't take it away because we're not gonna say not eligible for fire, we're just gonna say this applies to police and highway
yeah,
for their call-ins. Cause we can't apply it to all fire departments.
yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
So I know I have language.
and this
somewhere.
does not apply to anybody else if there were an emergency that meant, I don't know, because he's in the room, the town administrator had to come in. Maybe you're exempt because you're
I'm
salary.
exempt,
Yeah.
yeah,
Are there any other non-exempt employees who might be called in for an emergency?
Not full-time.
no,
It might be we have to deal with that as if it ever happens.
the only person is the EMD, but it's a stipend position, so it's exempt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
The fire chief and the police
Everybody
chief
else-
are fall under
Exempt.
exemptions,
everybody else is part-time.
yeah. And the only part-timers are within these departments. Where this would be triggered for emergency.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't see. Us,
I mean, the water Wayne's full-time, but he's exempt because he's.
And the water
Is he
department doesn't
exempt?
fall under our
Yeah.
policy anyways. They never adopted it, unfortunately.
So, when it snows on Saturday, Sunday, that's a weekend, you're gonna get called in. But if it snowed on a Wednesday at 4 o'clock and the storm goes till 8, and the day normally ends at 5, do you have to technically be called in to get that OT from 5 until 8? How
Well,
does
we
that
can look at, once we see the language, we
Yeah.
can see what that looks like.
Okay.
But I have something that's been crafted before.
Yep.
So
Okay,
I think once let's flush it out and have it,
yeah, just trying to make it not an administrative task,
yeah.
these guys.
Hmm.
If
I
you're in
think
the storm
essentially
And you
the
go
language
past
says that if it's outside your normal hours,
that,
so you would cover it.
okay, great.
That's not the physical calling, it's essentially working beyond your regularly scheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, all he needs to do is say, hey, Charlie, I need you to keep working.
right,
We'll send out the pizzas later.
that's essentially
Wow.
calling for now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a safer, it's basically keeping people from not coming in.
I just wanna make,
Because they don't wanna work.
just trying to make sure it wasn't a formal notification.
Are you running into that?
No, but it definitely will happen. I don't wanna get up there at 2 for straight term. I get out sometimes at 2 for
Yeah, but you're
free.
that.
I'm going to next time, I get double time on our food, and I'm getting zip. Unfortunately.
I just, a question occurred to me, and maybe nobody in the room knows the answer to this, but, this must have been a problem in the past, or was this just something when we redid the personnel policy that it didn't make that clear? Yeah, like, has this been like going on for, I don't know, 40, 50, however many years that,
Well, I think what Garrett's not saying that it is a problem right now, it's just trying to acknowledge that it could become a problem, that his staff may not be willing to come in.
I see.
If yeah, essentially beyond their time.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Alright.
it's not, and I think it's also hard for us to say because Keith's not here, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe nobody in the room knows the answer. But I mean, our highway crew they're pretty hale and hearty fellows, so they hardly ever take any sick days anyway, right?
yeah, it's hard to force them in
Well, yeah.
without paying time and a half, because like legally you have to.
Right. Yeah.
40 hours to get time
Well,
and a half.
It sounds like
Forcing-
then we don't have any language to vote on today, right?
No,
So
I'll bring it for the next meeting.
let's put that on the next meeting agenda then to look at some wording, and I kind of like the idea of when you're called in or asked to stay late. Then and Pete will figure out the right way to word it. And then the next item was request related to an hours cap for informal comp time earned. And that I don't think I know what the issue is there. So somebody there who knows what the issue is, if they could talk about it.
Yeah, so this is the informal comp time applies to exempt employees. So department heads, Garrett, myself, it applies to department heads. So we get informal comp time, you can get up to 100, you can bank up to 150 hours. The issue is, or the question was raised, to use Garrett as an example, Garrett's maxed out on his comp time. And again, in the winter, he gets called in for a storm. If he's already maxed out on his comp time, he's essentially not getting paid anything to come in for the storm. He's not getting straight pay, he's not getting comp time, he's not getting anything because he's already maxed out on his comp time and he's already done his 40 hours in the week. So if he's got to do the storm and work 8 hours for that storm, he's working essentially for free. He's not getting compensated for that.
Yeah.
Because we have the cap on the comp time. So he would just have to say, well, no, sorry, I'm not coming in because I'm not getting paid. And it's a tough thing to, again, using the winter storms. It's a tough thing again to say in the winter when you don't know when the storm's gonna come up. So for him to say, okay, I'm maxed out, so I can't, I've got to take some time off because I'm maxed out on my comp time. If he takes time off, and that's the day that the storm comes in, again, he's back to the same spot where he's not, he's essentially working for free because he's got his hours maxed out. So
How would he have arrived at 150 hours, more than 4 weeks of comp time in
so
the current year?
that's the cap.
That's where, but that's also my concern, is that the reason why we have it there is to make sure that those of us that are applicable on this are utilizing our comp time and are not just building it up.
Banking it.
Exactly, you have to, especially just from a mental
Mental health.
standard, you need to take and use your comp time because you shouldn't be working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week and banking those additional hours. You need to offset your hours by taking and reducing a few days and bringing that down. The other reason why we have the 150 is the point E, an employee is eligible to be paid for all compensatory time upon termination or retirement. If an employee continues to bank it up, they're gonna bank up to a point where if they get fired or they're leaving, they have to get paid out all of that. And that's why we have a cap on it, because we can't have somebody suddenly have 6 months worth of pay when they're leaving the town.
Especially if they started working at $20 an hour, now they're at 45.
Good point.
Yeah, you're paying.
Yeah, your pay rate has obviously changed over the time that you've been banking.
Right, yep.
So, I mean, I'm also in the same boat because during budget season, I rack up my comp time, but we have to adjust our hours in order to make sure we don't hit those. So I don't think it's a good idea for us to modify. I totally understand that during the winter time you do have to do, but you should have been preemptively before we got into the winter season, started to eat into your comp time so you weren't building it all up.
Yeah.
That's my main concern, is especially the payout, because we don't have funds to pay out those type
Yeah.
of things. Also, we just need, it's just good for you as an employee, as a human, to cut your hours down, use your comp time and take time off, reset yourself.
Just to-
Don't work for 50, 60 hours. Yeah.
Just to clarify, it's 150 hours between July 1 and June 30.
It is in a fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I
what
just-
happens to it at the end? To use it or lose it? At the end of that fiscal year?
Yes. Not all, that's one still.
I
doesn't-
think some of it carries over at least.
I think yeah, it doesn't actually say about carryover. We don't empty them out at the end of the fiscal year. I think what we do is because we have to track all the allotments on every timesheet, we can say, Pete came into 2026 with 20 hours of comp time, and now he can earn another 150 in the current fiscal year. So I guess it does roll over.
No, I think the total,
You're-
I think it does, you're right, it rolls over, but I still think the max, it's not like, oh, an additional for this year in addition to the 20 you kept from last year. I think it's just,
So-
for the reasons Pete said, I think
Oh,
we have
Yeah,
a
if you had
cap.
80 hours this year, you could carry it over and
yeah,
accumulate 70
But
hours.
then-
but yeah, you're right. It's any fiscal year, not per fiscal year.
Yeah.
It's a cap regardless of carryover. Yeah.
It's a cap 150.
Yeah.
So you can't have 150 then add 80 to it the next
No.
year.
No, you just
Okay.
carry it.
Yeah,
through.
that's where I was going before.
And just so it's clear for exempt employees, it's, the comp time's accrued at straight time. There's no time and a
Right.
half. So if you work
Yep.
3 hours of comp time.
Because you're not
you get
eligible for
3 hours.
rotate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think if there was an Armageddon snow and suddenly it blew up and you saw you were gonna go over 150, I'm sure that there must be some leniency somewhere to say, hey, this is a one-off problem. Can we do something for these guys? Or are you gonna be 150's it?
Yeah.
That's the policy right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And do we have any way to like just flag an employee and say like when they get to 100 to say, hey, you really got to start using this
To have a
Because
conversation, she says.
and have a conversation? Is that-
Maureen does provide that to the employees when they're hitting, either they're utilizing or they're running out of PTO, or they're running into their maximum on their,
Yeah,
comp time.
And that would go to the supervisors as well.
Uh,
Yeah.
The only supervisors that are the only people eligible are supervisors.
Yeah.
yeah. But
So
I
who
think
gets-
maybe it shouldn't be when you're just close to
The
150,
employee.
it should be earlier. You know, it should be,
I mean, yeah,
Or you told.
Yeah.
it's just Garrett, myself.
Yeah, it only applies, it doesn't apply to the employees, it applies to department heads.
Yeah, it's just department.
or exempt employees.
So I don't know, my old role. The employee would certainly be notified, but somebody with supervisory oversight of that employee, and I don't know if that means it's the select
It's
board.
the select board.
Somebody would get the equivalent the same notification.
Yeah,
Cause I wouldn't know, I got an employee in California and they've racked this up and they're about to hit the wall. How am I supposed to know that from my office in Boston?
yeah, procedurally right now we don't, but we could certainly have Maureen or
It would
Jen
be advisable just to have,
do that report
you
to
know,
the board.
Yeah,
just so somebody else other than the individual has control,
yeah.
has knowledge,
Right.
sorry, controls. both.
And have that talk about, hey, you know, this,
Correct.
for your health and performance at your job, you should be.
And again,
taking
setting the
that time.
3 exempt people aside as people, it's just the concept that I'm looking at. I don't think anybody here
Yeah.
would abuse it, but somebody ought to be aware. Other than the employee.
Yeah,
Easy.
yeah. I can certainly ask Jen and Maureen to, on a payroll basis, provide an email to the chair, the select board chair of the comp time report.
They also, I mean, the select board liaison for that department has to sign off on the payroll sheet, maybe just attaching a comp time sheet to it to say this is how many hours they have, instead of a whole nother separate step. Like they have to sign the payroll sheet.
Right, but the payroll sheet is generated by the employee.
Yeah,
And your payroll sheet doesn't have your accumulated comp time on it, does it? It only.
no, but that's what I'm saying, you can add that.
But there be a.
I asked
I don't
Yeah,
know.
or you can add that to it, because it's kept track of.
It is.
We keep track of it.
I think it would be much easier for her to do a single email rather than do an attachment for all 4 of us that have comp time.
She
Right.
said, I asked her about that, if she could get on a check, I said, you know what? Why don't you just, when we get your number, send an email.
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't matter to me.
Right,
I don't
yeah.
care. I'm the only one that gets that.
I'm just thinking check and balance.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, I agree. She said, yeah, I think, let you know, and she did.
Good.
That would be Maureen.
okay.
So, am I supposed to have been seeing Jim's timesheets?
No, I sign off on all department head timesheets.
Right, okay.
Because the board had decided that I would sign their
That's right,
timesheet.
for the, okay, good. Good, because I haven't been, and I just didn't want,
I'm like, oh. We've been getting paid, we've been getting paid, or has Joyce held that up? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, now, if it's not signed, we won't get, we'll get the Natalie grant from Maureen, like, hey, this isn't signed, we can't pay you. So it has to
Go
be signed.
Maureen.
You're a bobber, isn't
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
All right. So it sounds like, and maybe I should let does anybody want to speak in favor of this? It sounds like most people are saying, it's probably not a good idea to raise that cap. Is there anybody who wants to speak in favor of raising a cap?
I understand the policy, I mean, it is what it is. There's other things that are gonna come along with this when I'm not there,
yeah,
that are gonna show their head, just,
so without naming names.
I'm not in, so I said there's gonna.
I don't know.
You're gonna have
So,
a
but
problem,
without naming names, is there a concern on your part of,
that's why I work so much.
but that's, so I would say.
Yeah, I'm happy to take time.
No, I think then we need to work with the staff to determine where there are
Yeah, yes,
things that need to be worked on.
I agree,
Okay.
that's gonna happen.
I'm trying to be like
No, I know you.
cautious
I'm
about
going
that
with you.
language,
Yeah.
I'm going with you.
but Because you need to know that your staff can handle the department without you being there. You don't want to have to.
No.
To oversee them every single time.
Right.
Because you need to be able to walk away. You need to be able to.
Yeah.
So we can have a discussion,
Yeah,
but if that's what's holding you up, I don't want that to be the thing that's holding you up from using your comp time anymore.
That's
Like,
the whole thing.
yeah,
Like you're just feeling like you
Workaholic.
can't take a day off, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ice fishing.
Yeah.
okay. So I feel like we're done with D.
you're okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Then let's go back to B. There's a recommendation on a sick leave bank policy, and we got a written copy of that.
Yep.
I may even still have it in one of these windows on my computer, and I feel like what I read was very much like what we had discussed. And I wonder if anybody has any comments. Or
We, the committee had a couple of questions to the group that, we weren't sure how to proceed with. So we've set it up that the town creates the bank, again, with 160 hours as of July 1st in the first year. And regular employees have the option of contributing at least a day to the bank at any time, so the bank can have more hours coming from the employees. One of our questions is, how do we replenish this? As it is tapped into, and where this ties into, at the bottom of the document, there were some questions, and I'm starting with the third one, how do we replenish it? But that ties into, is it voluntary to be in the system, or is it required? And if you are in, I'm calling it the system, participating in the bank, are you required to contribute to help replenish? So these three questions kind of all go together, and we ran into them when we hit the question of what happens if the 160 hours gets used.
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to
Yes,
say it?
yeah. I would only add that I know in talking with some of the benefited employees of the town, there was some reluctance, and we had some discussions as our subcommittee, but there was some reluctance to be required to say, okay, you get however many, 80 hours of sick time per year, but you have to give back one day into the bank every year. So it was kind of, it wasn't optional.
You're forcing.
So we're forcing it, but then there was a discussion about being able to opt in and opt out of it. If you wanted to opt in, you could say, yes, we'll do that. And then you're kind of signing off and acknowledging that you're gonna do that, but, so there was a couple of different discussions as far as that went, but. Whether it's voluntary or whether it's kind of a voluntold.
Oh,
thing.
I guess I read it a little differently. I thought that the 1 hour was, you can't donate 15 minutes. That if you're gonna donate, you gotta at least donate 1 hour.
Yeah.
But it was if you're gonna donate, it wasn't required. So it's interesting that it's interpreted that the way it's written, that it is
Joyce.
required.
No, Joyce, it's not that it's interpreted that it's required. It's, we have these questions in order to flush out and
Oh,
add
okay.
additional language if needed.
Yeah, we are the ones writing this.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is, so if there's something that is ambiguous.
Yeah.
Speak up, because we don't, this is our language.
Right.
So I think the reason, the main point here is. If we are preloading it with hours. How do we replenish? Do we automatically replenish yearly, or is it based on the employees donating into it in order to replenish? Therefore, if we say, well, it's donation. How are we triggering the donation? Is it because it's a voluntary program or required participation?
Right. I feel
I
like
think-
as written, it's voluntary as far as donating your time,
Right,
completely
right,
voluntary. Yeah,
Yeah, it is written as voluntary,
yeah.
but there's no language here to tell us how do we replenish.
Can
Because it's a
I
voluntary,
I feel like I mean, maybe I'm gonna sound uh like the old farmer from out in the hills is like, we're doing the 160 is to get this off the ground. After that, the employees can maintain it or not. Okay, I mean, the purpose of it is for people to be able to, in a humanitarian way, share leave for people who are in really bad trouble. You know, somebody gets a diagnosis and they really need 8 weeks off for their chemo, and they've only got 4 weeks of sick time. And that's people pulling together to help somebody out. I don't think we should assume that sick leave bank is going to be continually replenished by the town. It's just, I think of it as a one-time thing, and it could be in some, 5 years, 10 years down the line, it gets to the point where it really might need. Maybe that's an occasional thing to um, have the town replenish it, but I don't think it should be assumed that every year there's going to be another 160 hours put in the sick bank. That's just my own thought.
I personally, I agree with that concept. Perhaps the answer is, we start with 160, here we are at the end of fiscal year. Now we're down to 120. Here we are at the end of 3 and we're at 42. We're gonna have a problem. We're just trying to keep you posted along the way so the employees have a sense of what they have. But I have a related question. Setting aside the replenishment for a moment, was the intent that the town was going to fund 160 hours at a certain dollar amount? No.
no, it's
Because we
just,
don't know who's gonna draw,
right, it's
whether they're
just,
$20 an hour or 45.
right, it's just the accrual, the amount of hours that are in this bank.
Yep,
But your budget is what pays out that person anyways. You were budgeted for them to be paid, whether it was actually hours worked or PTO.
does it say that in here that
Oh, that doesn't matter for this. That's just the financing, how the budgeting is done.
so if I'm in the department called highway and somebody has a real problem, needs the money, highway is gonna get charged the 160
They would
hours.
be paying that person anyways.
I understand,
Yeah, they're not paying 160 hours.
they'd be paying, got it,
Yeah, they'd be
Got it.
paying that person whether they were working.
as if they were healthy.
Correct.
Okay,
It's just like currently. And when a person takes sick time, the pay for that sick time
Yep.
comes out of your salary line item to pay that person's hours for that sick time.
yeah, and I think you'd have
There's
a,
no real dollar.
I think you'd have a good case to Joyce's point, maybe it's building on your point, Joyce. That if there was a report that showed, we started at 160, Charlie got sick. And needed 80 hours, now we're down to 80, but you can see how we've been able to help Charlie. And then say, here's a way we can get to rebuilding that bank. So that people see the value of being willing to contribute. You'd have to sell it.
You'd have to sell it, but
But-
my concern is. So just to kind of clarify the question Joyce earlier about how this is written, if it's required or voluntary.
Yeah.
All benefited employees, by the way it's written right now, all benefited employees have access to the bank. The voluntary element is being able to voluntarily contribute to the bank, to add to that bank. But anybody that is benefited, anybody over 20 hours can apply to get money for time from the sick bank. I'm concerned when we have a voluntary contribution. The voluntary contribution unintentionally gives them a rationale of why I should be given the ability to now take from the bank because I gave and Jessica didn't. And what happens when you have half the employees refusing to donate, but eligible to use, and the other half are donating, the half that are donating are going to become upset with the other half that don't donate, and then they get mad that they still get to go and use from the bank.
How would they know that? Why would this be confidential? whether I'm a donator or not.
Hmm.
Why do I need to know that Jessica is not stepping up despite her new
People
role?
talk,
That's a
unfortunately.
I was thinking the same thing. You're right, and, you know,
People talk,
they do.
yeah,
It's like, oh, hey, like, yeah, I was able to get this from the sick bank,
yeah.
you know, and.
Well, I mean, well, let's go to that because it
That's
looks to
different than
me,
donating to the sick, but
it
Yeah,
takes a
Well,
lot to get something out of the
being able
sick bank, though.
Being able to take from the sick bank is a public meeting.
It's a
The
public
personal
meeting
I
of
have
the
a question
personnel
about
committee.
the, well,
The personnel committee has to have a public meeting in order to, they can't discuss the medical issue.
the HIPAA.
Correct.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
HIPAA cannot be, but their request, the employee's request to get X amount of hours
Yeah,
because they need extended time to go and.
yeah, that
recover.
was one of my, wait, I didn't know where it'd be in that question there, but it seems odd to me that this working group would have the ability to say yay or nay relative to somebody being sick and needing X number of hours. It feels,
Well-
doesn't feel. Some of us are supervisors, some of us are not, some of us are town
All
employees.
you're evaluating is determining whether or not the need is there
Right,
based on the documentation from the doctor. The
that we've
doctor
been
does.
provided.
Correct. And whether there's hours in the bank.
So why would the personnel committee be the one going through that? Even if you could,
Cause otherwise we have to
I-
create another committee.
Yeah, I think it's gotta have some oversight and we can be the oversight of that.
Yeah,
okay,
that's how the example policies, there is another committee created
so
just to.
theoretically, we get a piece of paper as members of the committee, which says Jeanette has an issue. We're not gonna tell you what the issue is, but here's a doctor's note that says this is
Verifying.
an issue, verifying there's an issue.
Yeah.
And do you want to, or do you not want to give this person eligibility?
Can we review those in when we call executive session? Does that have to be a public meeting?
It has to be a public meeting, because you're not what's it called? Criticizing, you're not talking about the job performance, and you're not talking about their pay. Not a negotiation on pay.
I'm just trying to think of a way, you know, to protect people. Is there a way that we can do it then? Well, I don't know if it's that we don't see the name or we don't say the name. But.
Yeah, why
I'm
does
sure.
it have to be public knowledge and
That-
be
that
as
probably-
bladder cancer?
we did that previously where. we
Yeah,
had-
that could be
Yeah.
done,
Yes.
that could be done, where it could just be an employee as,
An issue.
yes.
Right, I just want to protect their
Agreed.
privacy.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine the doctor's information is going to, say what their diagnosis is and why it is they need this time. We just don't say
not
who it
allowed
is,
to
and we
see
don't
that.
necessarily say that, what the details are in our discussion, but we may have that information, just not discussing it in public.
There is
that-
to answer the question, there is a specific form that they fill out that is HIPAA compliant.
Okay,
So they do have already created.
The doctors.
Yes. It's
Okay.
similar to when an employee needs to request federal medical leave. It's the same exact form. A doctor must state what the issue is, what the length of time is, and that they cannot perform their duties. And you use that as the documentation to then grant FMLA leave. That is done administratively just because it's already like law,
Okay.
but good.
Is there, I have a question, is there, maybe I'm not seeing it, is there a cap on how much, sick bank hours that somebody can use?
the whole thing did.
We talked about that and we had that the committee has to review it. Re-review it. I think it was after 40 hours.
Yeah, I was like trying, I thought I saw it,
Yes,
but I'm,
number 4.
no,
It was in the.
I remember we had it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it says
we took it
reevaluate
out
at
when we
1 month
did it.
intervals.
number 4, yeah, no employee may deplete, oh wait,
More than
2D,
hours.
That's when they're donating.
yeah, see,
2D, we have the right to set a limit on the number of days the employee may use and the time span over which they may be used. I don't know, you do all that limited HIPAA
Yeah, I'm just,
regulation or
just,
Mhm.
I guess
discussion.
determining how many hours each employee can take. That's gonna be up to the committee, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, it has reevaluate each case at 1 month intervals.
To determine how many hours they can take.
and remember this is a conversation point that we had to keep reminding ourselves when we were developing this. This is not authorizing them to take leave. It's simply giving them
A mix.
hours to compensate them during their leave. Their request for leave is already covered in our policy. It goes to their supervisor and they make a determination based on what the work requirements are and whatnot. That's already in there. We're not asking this body to go and determine, no, you can't take your leave for that medical procedure.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, you are going to be taking the leave and you need 20 hours because you only had 10 hours of sick time and you need 30 hours, so you're asking 20 hours from our bank.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll give you
But
20
to
hours.
Jessica's point, if that doctor's HIPAA note says they need 200 hours of leave, that one employee, then they can theoretically exhaust the entire bank under one circumstance. Versus
Only if
the-
you were to give them that hours.
Only if we grant them.
Yeah, you don't have to grant
Well, yeah.
everything that's in it.
a place to be.
Because remember, without this policy,
Yeah,
it's only what they've already earned for sick.
I understand.
So they'd be out anyways.
But we become judge and jury in a spot where we're saying, I think we should only do 80 hours. And then we have a debate about that.
Is there a reason not to put an individual cap on? And you know, each person within a calendar year can only use a
I'm
maximum
trying to
of.
remember why we
Well,
did out, but we had it.
I feel like we
Here's my
talked-
answer to that, Susan.
It's 40.
This is, I'm just remembering, and this person's no longer even with us. But you know, when Mary Ellen worked for us and got her diagnosis, you know, she was, this would have been great to have because, you know, everybody would have gone and contributed overtime days, or not overtime days, sick days, to help Mary Ellen get through her chemo. I mean, this isn't for, you know, it's for emergencies. And I don't know how often that comes up. Mary Ellen's the last person I know who got a diagnosis. I don't think this is going to come up that often. And I don't think people should look at it as something where they're just going to kind of, you know, pad things up. And I have a right to this much, or I have a right to that much. This is about altruism. In my opinion, a sick bank is about altruism. It's about, hey, if this happened to me, I would really need it, and I'm only going to really ask for this if I absolutely need it. You know, I am lucky. I work at a place where they're very, very flexible. When I got my diagnosis, I was able to take the whole semester off, and and that really made me get healthy again. So you know, sorry if it just seems like this is like pressing a personal button, but a sick leave bank isn't something that people should be gaming. And maybe that's what we have to introduce it as, is something where this is, you know, we're doing this for the extreme cases. Okay. And I think that's really, really important, that this not become just you know, a thing that people, again, I think if you have people in a room looking at it and asking questions, then it's going to minimize, perhaps not eliminate, but minimize that sort of thing. You know, I guess I have strong feelings about it, but I don't really see why people would do some of the things you're suggesting they would do.
I agree that the intention is for it to be altruistic. The problem is and it's not in Whately per se, but the reality is that there are situations where people do unfortunately do that. And while we could say that our current employee pool wouldn't do that, we don't know what future employee pools may do. So that's why unfortunately, we always have to put in these guardrails in order to ensure that the gray area doesn't get abused.
Yeah. Then I mean, maybe I guess I was really responding to Susan saying, oh, should we cap how much people can do in a year? I think that's not the point. The point is sometimes people need most chemo regimes are 8 weeks. And if somebody's only got 2 weeks of sick time, they're gonna need that 6 weeks, and I don't wanna cap it at 4, if that's really the case. Or maybe that person would do, like, I'm only gonna ask for 4 and I'll just take unpaid leave for part of it. Maybe that has to be part of our thinking, but what I like about this is we get to decide, right, as a personnel committee. You'll have, 5 human beings looking at it, and one will be looking out for finances, and others will be looking out for the employees, and others will be just kind of looking out for the community in general. Um, like what's the best thing to do? And I think because we have people in the loop, then I think we don't want this to be something where it's too cut and dry, in my opinion. Because if AI can do it, then we probably shouldn't do it. Right? If it's just gonna be a formula, that then we don't need a committee to be in the loop. But I think
That's a
having
good
people in the
test.
loop is important.
This could also be, it's not memorialized indefinitely. This could, depending if you hit a real life situation, we have our discussions. We may see a need down the road to amend the policy,
Right, yeah,
so.
policies can always change. Yeah,
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but this started like maybe 2 years ago, where there was an employee that had to go out that didn't have any time. And another employee offered their time to that person,
Nice.
which was fine, but there was no policy in place to allow for that to happen. So that's where this all came from, was just trying to create a policy just for that type of situation. So it's not like creating a problem, it's just, okay, we need an avenue to be
Creating a
able to do this, yeah.
Actually,
So, and I think the, personnel committee, they reserve the right to make changes and to the policy, and as things go on, if there's issues that pop up, there's nothing in this that says that, yeah, you're guaranteed A, B, or C. You're not guaranteed anything. This is just a policy that gives us an avenue to be able to do that.
be able to amend it.
If I've got some extra time and you've got to go out, we can put that time in there, but now we have a bank that you can pull from, so.
yeah, that situation, the reason why we developed it was because it was raised by another employee.
Mhm.
How did
Why
we
didn't they get
decide,
it?
right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does any of this have to be approved by town meeting?
No,
Have
there's
other
a policy,
details
so
that-
it's just select board,
Okay.
because this goes into the personnel policy.
So based on everything we've talked about, as the person who crafted the original language, anything we want to change? Before we take it to select board?
Did all the questions get answered during your discussion
Well,
that you
yeah, I
remember?
mean,
I was just trying to think of what the 3 questions were, going back to
Right.
the.
participation,
Oh,
voluntary
yeah.
required donation, so it sounded like 1 and 2, we definitely want to be voluntary.
Correct.
And 3,
Yeah.
how do we replenish? And based on the discussion, we leave it to the employees to replenish, and if there's an issue down the road, we revisit. Am I stating that
Yeah.
correctly? Am I hearing?
I think that's right.
Reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's you repeated the consensus nicely, summarized it. The only other thing I would ask is, how do we come up with 160? And if we really want this to be kind of a employee driven thing, maybe that should be more like 80 instead of 160.
I think it was based looking at the other example policies, which range from 150 to 240 or something.
But it was 150 days.
Oh, that was the percent.
Really?
Yeah,
Right,
some other policies had like, I think it was 170, 150.
But it was Lexington,
Yeah,
which when we
Which
looked,
is a big
a lot more employees.
massively larger town than us, so a
Right.
larger employee count.
Yeah, but 1,000-hour bank is free.
But if you've got 2 weeks
What?
worth of sick time and, we have this month worth of bank and other people are kicking into it, not thinking of the ailment that you may end up being out of work for 6 months, but just something like if you break your leg rollerblading and you got no sick time left and you come and you beg for some time and maybe you'll be healed in 5 to 6 weeks or something like that. I think that's was, just looking at that month-long type of thing.
How does any provision from FMLA play into this? Meaning the employee continues to receive assistance at some level. This is in addition to,
Sorry, what was the start of that?
so doesn't FMLA cover you for a portion of your income?
FMLA is simply protecting your job, that it will remain your job while you're on leave. It does not compensate at all.
Yeah, you'd have to use all your
FMLA
time.
says you have to use your own accrued time. You do not have to give a medical leave here. We
You
just have
don't in the
FMLA.
past, okay.
No,
We don't have short-term or long-term disability.
You don't.
it's an option that you can get, but we don't, it's not an automatic coverage. Yeah. So no, FMLA is simply a job protection, not a compensation.
And the other subsidies would be that short-term or long-term disability if they elected for that.
Yeah, and that's also beyond once you exhausted your PTO.
But this 160, how
That-
would that, if I
That would
had
then count as paid
disability,
time, then you wouldn't be able to,
Put in
elect
for-
short-term disability or long-term, correct?
So until
Because you
then-
are collecting a paycheck.
you'd opt for this first because it's full pay versus short-term disability, which I don't think is a full pay.
It's not, it's either 60 or 80, I forget.
Right,
You know-
you'd opt for this first.
It
And
depends.
honestly, this doesn't have to be full pay. This could be, yeah, we'll give you 8 weeks, but we can't do it at full. So we'll give you we can make whatever decision we want when the personnel committee meets. They can say, look, the bank doesn't have that much in it. So, we can compensate you at half. There's a lot of flexibility in what's written here, I think, which is what I like about it.
And this protects the committee relative to appeal. There's no right to appeal the decision once the decision's been made.
Right,
Yeah, because somebody could not game the system, but you'd go after 160 hours of full-time pay before you'd ever put in for disability in short term. You'd exhaust the money you could, or you went to the partial one.
Yep. Yeah,
We don't care if the employee has short-term or long-term disability relative to this policy. You're not asking them to burn through that before they can tap into the
Yeah.
bank.
yeah, we couldn't, it's supposed, that has to come after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
but we do
And-
ask them to burn through all of their personal time. There was a list in here, comp time, maybe sick time.
Yeah,
They have to burn through
Um,
all of that first.
Okay.
And like Pete was saying earlier, just because the personnel committee votes to say, yes, you're eligible for this 160 hours, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna be granted that through their department head,
the time off,
the time off.
not the, yeah.
Yeah, so you can, because the department head's gonna look at it and say, okay, well, you've been abusing your time off. Like I told you to stop taking random days because you're hungover or whatever. So now all of a sudden you're looking for time. It's like, no, that's not what this is for. Even though the personnel committee said, yes, like you've been abusing your time and you dwindled your time down to nothing, so the department head could deny that time
Where
off.
does it say that in here?
That's in
That's the personnel policy.
policy, that's already in the personnel policy.
It's gotta be approved by yours.
Yeah.
No.
And then under number 3, the things we consider is their previous attendance record, which we would get from their supervisor, presumably.
Would you want in that particular section any input from the supervisor relative to Jim's point? This, or is that already covered by the policy?
It's already covered by the policy.
Okay.
Just the regular.
Remember, you're just granting the hours for
Okay.
paid time, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So they have to get the leave granted first before they come to ask for the pay. Right.
And getting back to something you said before, Joyce, I couldn't find it until number 5. That they can't fight our decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then number 9
Okay.
covers the family medical leave policy portion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like as written, that this is pretty good. And I can see sort of the what I think of as the Susan Barron careful reading and consideration happening there. And I give credit to Susan, but I'm sure the whole subcommittee who went through this, it shows the hallmark of you've thought things out. And I don't know that I have anything to improve it. I don't object to it being 160 hours to start with. I just was, there was something I just thought about that that I really hope, I hope if this is gonna work, I think it has to be something that the employees buy into because they believe in helping each other. And when they stop doing that, then this is gonna fall apart and they won't have any hours in the sick bank and it won't matter. Right?
Good point.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because
so are we?
160 hours,
let's
that's
bring
4
this-
weeks. Yeah, that's a good start.
Are we good with bringing this to the select board?
I think so.
We need a vote on that.
Yeah, I think maybe we should vote to recommend this to the select board, I think is what the, I lost the agenda here.
There'll
Usually
be
there's
some
words.
sort of policy number 2.0, whatever. Does that,
Yeah,
does that have to be part of this motion, or is it just?
Oh, no,
Okay.
not,
You can
I'll,
just add it
I'll
in.
put it in, where it needs to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we are voting on a recommendation, because that's all we do is recommend. So we are voting to recommend to add the sick leave bank policy to the Whately personnel policy. Is that about right, Pete?
Yeah,
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I don't feel like I can move it because I wrote it.
I'm happy to make a motion to move forward with the recommendation of the select board to adopt sick leave bank policy as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Jim,
Moved in
second.
second. So let's do a roll call vote, and I'm just gonna go left to right again. Jerry,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joyce? Yes. Okay.
I should
Alright.
have probably asked this before, like a procedural question.
Yeah,
As a town employee, my role for things that. I'm just trying to get some clarification as far as the things that we're gonna vote on. Am I allowed to vote on things that are gonna affect me as an employee for the town?
cause as long as it's in general,
Okay,
if it's a policy
It's not
for
my
the police
position.
chief,
Yeah.
then you would have to
Okay.
recuse yourself, yeah.
right, that's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah. Yeah, only if you had a very direct.
Raise for me.
But yes, for Jim.
Yeah. That was easy.
okay. All right, well, we can wrap up soon, I hope. We got only 2 more items left on the agenda. The performance review process, we wanted to hear back. We've our first time doing it in quite a long time. So we're looking for what went well, what we might be able to improve for next time.
Could I make a suggestion? Would it make sense to have a department head meeting? Just an informal department head meeting, just to say, hey, this is what we all thought of the process, because we're all the ones that had to go through it.
Yeah,
And talking with our employees as opposed to me trying to speak for highway department or something, you know, we could all sit at the same table and everybody could voice their
Yeah.
concerns. I know everybody's gonna have different concerns as to how the process went, so.
Well, if that would
Right.
help bring better information to us, that would,
Yeah.
that seems great to get more information.
Yeah.
If we do that, could I request a copy of whatever this review process was? I don't think I've seen that. So whatever you guys just did, I
Oh,
think it's super that you
I
did it.
can give you the evaluation form.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I'll email it to the committee just so you can all see what that form looks like.
Yes, please.
And the cover letter that was given to all department heads that explained what the process was.
and so this employee performance review process was independent of, here's what we're gonna do relative to compensation.
Oh, yeah, it's just about
Totally.
your
I get it.
performance over the previous fiscal year.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
and no going back to 1956 when somebody stepped on somebody's toe and no, it's just the last year.
Everybody needs improvement.
Right. Well, as somebody who had to at least go through it with two of our employees, what I like about how Pete rolled this out, and I don't know who else was involved in that, but my main uh, points of reference were Jessica and Pete. What I liked about it was it's not a goal to get a perfect score. It's not really a scoring system. That you're able to you know, talk a lot about what's going right. And I think honestly, with the crew we have, a lot is going right. There's very little that's going wrong. That said, everything can be improved. That's our motto here at at the Teaching and Learning Center at Smith. It's all teaching is improvable. And that goes all the way up until the semester you retire. So everything's improvable. So and it gives also a chance to talk about goals for the coming year or even the coming 5 years or 10 years. And it gives us a chance to think about, um, like, oh, when this employee is gone, what is going to be what's going to be the replacement plan? Like, how are we going to, what can we do now to help, think about making that transition? Because people will retire, people will, maybe even get other jobs, although they won't be as good as the job they have in Whately. We know that. Um, so
Back to seat bank.
it's not gonna, but what I liked that it really concentrated uh, on, I never felt like I was grading somebody's paper and taking points off for one thing or another. And I think, I hope our employees appreciate that they're not looking at this like, test, did I get an A on my test? And once I get an A, why do I have to keep taking this test every year? Um, I really, so I like that about it, and maybe you
Good.
keep that in mind when you see the forms, and you'll see what I mean, Jerry.
Great. So it also involved the transition planning?
For some employees, yeah, if an employee is coming up on like retirement in the foreseeable future, which wasn't necessarily this fiscal year.
Not anybody in this room.
Then,
You know, I
then
came from a
yeah,
world in which we did this all the time. We had to say, what if?
Yeah,
yeah,
So what's your plan? And a lot of people are like, oh, I got nothing. Well, then you better start thinking about it because it happens.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Good. All right, yeah, I'll definitely look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, so I did send both you. I think one key takeaway that I had from the process, it is it's an administrative burden, but that is the role of administration. So I totally accepted the fact that I needed to handle a lot of this, which is completely fine. On the opposite side, though, we did have an issue with employees that work very minimal hours, wanting to or willing to complete the forms. And so the transfer station attendants never did it. Only their supervisor did. It's because
oh,
they are minimal hours and they didn't really see, and the
Value.
their supervisor didn't necessarily push them to go and do it either. So I think that is one thing that we'll have to talk about when we discuss next round. How do we either ensure that everybody does it, or are we saying that you must work a minimum number of hours in order to be evaluated?
Right.
Cause yeah, that was a little bit, and in hearing that feedback, I was like, okay, it does make sense. And we even had some part-time officers who didn't do it only because they haven't been scheduled for a very long time, or maybe didn't even work during the fiscal year, so we didn't evaluate them. And it's, that was easy to make that call.
Yeah.
But yeah, so,
But shouldn't every employee, as they spend time and move forward, including new hires, have that sit down conversation, say, welcome aboard, James, you've been here 3 months. And you're a new town accountant, you're working 2 days a week, maybe we should have you work more. But here's what I see as most important that I need to have on your radar, what do you see? And not just have, I think it is important for everybody to have the conversation. Cause you're investing time in the employee, but you're also investing time in your overall organization, because you're really building where you want to take it, and you're including people with you along the way.
I think
So,
in theory, yes.
Yeah.
But I think with that particular department I'm referring to, the transfer station.
yeah,
Doesn't really operate in that same function.
right.
They don't hold meetings. They're there at the transfer station manning that booth.
But
They're
some
not
of them are
doing.
more customer centric.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that there
But-
can't be value from doing it.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're not sitting in an office where they're having a discussion with their supervisor, or they have regular meetings.
Yeah,
They come in to work the transfer station.
yeah,
And that's what they're allotted for their budget, like. So maybe it's a budget thing in order to ensure that we pay for some meeting time for them to have.
I think so.
They can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between somebody saying, oh, sir, can I help you unloading your car versus
Yes.
it's over here. And it's like, really?
Right. Yeah,
Do you-
and,
do you
and,
see
and
that
right,
as
right now our
this?
transfer station attendants are awesome, but that was not always the
don't
case.
disagree, Jules.
I,
But
I
we
rem-
just
I
really
remember the
wanted to-
time when there was somebody who just could not be bothered to get out the door, and they were just there to sell bags, and they didn't do, so, and we didn't have.
Correct, so something changed, and the question would be, what made them more customer centric? Was it changing the people? Or was it the way that the supervisor's engaging with that team to say, hey, when these people show up on Tuesdays and Saturdays, here's what we need to do, they have a 15-minute meeting in advance. How do we do it at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I agree, they're very friendly right now.
Yeah,
Totally.
and
I'm
helpful.
just reading out a structural thing that made it difficult where they
Sure.
they did not partake in the process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's not a criticism of them in their roles or their performance, it's simply
it's a
identifying.
structural.
There's an issue when we're putting this onus of doing this process when they work minimal hours.
Right,
yeah.
How many
Could there
hours do
be
they-
for something like that, like a different, a stand, like that's like a 2-page thing about, you know, that is, it's really made, I think, for people who are working more like full-time. Could there be an abbreviated form? Where it's like,
so,
and I don't know which questions I would take out, but
Yeah,
something that's, maybe it's down to 3 questions. Maybe it's, how do you feel you're doing at your job, and what can we do to
I
help
think
you
that
and
makes
make it
people
better,
valuable.
and, or, you know, just a real simple thing, because I don't know if I worry that much about the skills, because there's a whole section about skills. Does this person have the skills for the job? Transfer station, I'm not necessarily that worried about a lot of skills. So it might be some of the questions are not as relevant in that particular
Right,
situation.
but I agree.
Yeah.
My old world, the porter that went around and picked up the trash and the landscaping had a review once a year, whenever it was necessary, to talk about why your job is so important and how you fit into the picture and what your output is. So that they didn't feel like they were just showing up at work, grabbing a stick and going out and picking up trash. You're like, oh, this is part of the community. This makes the people who live here feel good, and it makes people who drive through feel good, and actually makes me feel good because I'm not seeing litter everywhere. Just using it as an example. But everybody had a conversation whether, you know, they were working 10 hours a week or they were working 80 hours a week.
I think it's hard to have just a generic review.
Very
There's a lot of things, like from the police perspective or from the fire perspective. It's like, there may be like some of these questions don't really line up specifically. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't really apply to our job, or that doesn't make sense or whatever. So to have like the generic one across the board, I think that's what a lot of the feedback that I got was, I don't know, where to put myself and meet standards, exceed standards. I mean, they know what the policy is, they know what the standard that I have set forth, and then questions come up that are more generic. It's like,
Yeah.
how do I
Well,
apply this to firefighting or to police work?
yeah. Well, maybe it is that we go on that form and some, like, if you're thinking about your police officers, maybe there's a few of those where we just say N/A for part-time police officers, or N/A for, you know, or maybe, so maybe that's how the transfer station gets down to just having 3 questions or something like that. Does that, I mean, am I saying something that makes sense on your end? I mean, because
Yeah,
you're right, it's a very general form, and maybe it doesn't, maybe not all questions apply to all people.
But I'm just also thinking about the fire department. I don't know how things went with the fire department as far as reviews.
Well, that was the other department, that was the problem.
I was gonna say, I know a lot of the firefighters on the fire department that are just like.
They're all
"That's
on
stupid thing."
call, the only person that's
Yep.
scheduled is the fire chief. All the on-call, none of them did their reviews.
Some of them go once a year, some of them
Yeah.
go every call.
Yeah,
Some of them only pick
Challenging.
the good calls to go to. They don't wanna go to the smoke detector alarm going off at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's stupid. It's just to be replace a battery, and I don't feel like getting up for that, you know, those types of things. I mean, they're human beings.
yeah,
It really happens. It's like us going to a regular alarm call for the 900th time. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's that one time that there's an actual fire, that there's an actual problem. So it's easy to get complacent. But there's some of the people that don't do it
Yeah.
very often. It's easy for them to get
Was
complacent.
this the first time through in a while for evaluation?
yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay,
it's
so you built
4 or 5 years. Have to look at the last
Good,
one.
congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Great.
so we'll take a look at what you've sent and
Yeah,
talk about suggestions.
Yeah.
And I loved your idea of getting the department heads
Yeah,
input on how they thought.
Makes
it all.
sense. Yeah, do a debrief.
yeah. I know the Zoom meetings for us worked out. I was like, okay, how am I gonna get everybody up here to sit with me and Pete to go through this? Like, I can't get them to work a shift that I'm paying. We're gonna get them to come up here and sit for a review. Well, let's do it.
they were good about it though,
Yeah, no, they're good.
and all of them. were-
okay.
Mhm.
All right. So then maybe for the next agenda, we hear back from the department heads meeting, and maybe there'll be some concrete suggestions about how to treat the people who are not working that many hours, like the special case at the fire, the special case at the transfer station, and then if there's some amendments we can make to make the whole thing go smoother and be less of an administrative burden on everybody, except Pete, because he's an administrator, so he gets administrative burden, right?
Do it.
He has an assistant administrator.
Yeah.
There I told him I would help.
Thankfully, you avoided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first round, no.
It'll have fun.
I'll be around.
Notice how Pete didn't make much of a stink that the fire did. All 15 of them. It's just like.
Okay. All right. Last item is COLA and employee pay rates. Again, preparation for the budget season.
So employee pay rates, I think we'll discuss once we figure out the classification compensation policy. I have not received any requests to move people or do like special pay rate increases. You will, what you, and Joyce, will see in the upcoming budgets, there are a couple departments that are asking for additional hours for a part-time staff member, but not asking for explicit jumps in pay. They
Okay.
just need, those staff members just need more hours to be able to complete their job, so, and I have it broken down on their sheets.
And again, what's the trigger for benefits?
20.
Okay.
20 a week, sorry.
Mhm.
That may
So-
be part of the consideration.
Hmm.
Employees currently at 16, now we're looking at 24, now you got the benefits on top of that. So it's not just the extra 8 hours, it's the
And you will
$10,000.
Make sure I have it broken down, hours per week. In when I present that to the finance, if there's any adjustment requests.
Okay,
Then hopefully we'll narrow you and I the classification.
Yeah.
Policy.
So then I guess the only other item is the COLA. If anybody wants to do research on COLA, what's happening in the area, or based on the CIP.
Yep.
That's what was a helpful determining factor last year,
Yeah.
but. I think
Yeah,
we had a-
you, no,
Sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm happy to.
didn't we have a data issue though, currently, like they didn't report in October and November because the federal government
Yes.
shut down?
Yes, but you now have
Did you
year
break them
over
out?
year,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
so.
the year-over-year stuff will be,
November to November's
okay,
okay.
Yeah.
It's that mucky part in the middle,
okay.
yeah.
but the
Okay.
information's.
I think
But
Jerry,
I'll-
you're the man for the job on that.
I'm working.
The numbers, man.
So I'll handle classification if you wanna handle COLA research, but then I'll obviously pass you the policy as well, but at least getting the framework.
Is there a timetable for this?
Well, that will be another item we have to just discuss our next meeting, when we
Yeah.
wanna meet.
Is roughly a month from now gonna give people enough time to do their homework?
Yeah,
Gives me
Okay.
plenty of time.
yeah,
I don't have any.
No, you have a department head meeting, I think,
I just gotta show up for that.
right? Well, okay, a little bit more than that, Jim, to be honest. So, if we're looking out,
Wow.
1, 2. Into February, 4 weeks from now is February 12th. Thursdays, though, I teach all day, so I can't really do middle of the
Actually,
day on
4 weeks from
Thursday.
now, I have as the 19th,
yeah,
not the
Yeah.
12th.
Yeah, if it's the 19th, it can't be during the day for me.
It doesn't, I'm
If
not
it's a
saying it has to
Thursday.
be Thursday.
yeah, it's sometime that week of the 16th then. Oh, the 16th is a
Monday is
holiday,
a holiday.
so 17th or 18th.
Yeah, I got a housing committee on.
You need me.
I can do 18th, 19th, or 20th.
18th,
18th, we do have FinCon at 5,
Do we?
yep.
I know,
18th?
okay.
I'm not sure.
I don't have that one on my,
Oh,
damn.
okay.
How about Friday the
So-
20th, because it sounds like there's something, a reason not to every day up until the. Are people on the 20th?
20th is okay for me.
Let me go look at that, 20th?
Yes,
As
ma'am.
long as it's in the afternoon, I think I can make an afternoon meeting, but, yeah, I think I might, yeah, I think I can fit it in, though. Can we do it at the same time? Maybe, maybe 1:30 instead of 1 o'clock?
Works for me.
Should we do that as a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna set it up as Zoom because the
Yeah.
building won't fit, yeah.
Yeah,
This
and,
is
and-
for-
Oh,
I can make myself available for you that day if you need, just let me know, cause I normally don't work on Fridays, I
Yeah.
work Monday through Thursday, but I'm available on Friday if that's something you would need me
It's
for.
okay,
I'm just giving,
Yeah.
if you do, if you change your mind, I'll be
Okay.
available for that, so.
okay, I don't mean to be in trouble for you.
Oh, no, not at all, I'm happy to, hop on Zoom if you guys need me to, not a problem.
So you said 1:30, Joyce?
yeah, that would be helpful if it was 1:30.
Have any of the other towns come forward with COLAs?
I think a few,
I heard Deerfield was doing 2%, but Deerfield, they decided that like back in November.
yeah,
So with like using no data whatsoever, they decided it was 2%.
there is the Mass Municipal HR group has been tracking COLAs. They have a sheet where everybody's been filling in their
Okay,
requested COLA.
is that a link you can send me?
I'm trying to find it. Just remember that there was a discussion of your track.
And while you look for that, I seem to recall social security came out at 2.8.
Correct.
I'll have to find,
Yeah, okay,
I know we were talking about this, but.
all right. Well, at this point, we're sort of through our agenda, and I'm wondering if there's any items not anticipated, if we might move to adjourn.
And move to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, Jerry,
yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joyce? Yes. All right. Thanks,
Stay
everybody.
warm and safe, everybody.
And we'll see you in a month, if not before.
See ya, thanks, Joy.
Bye, Joyce.
Bye.
Anywhere between 0 and 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.